It's your open source advocate, and I'm back with part 2 for our series on Home Assistant. So last time we went through our install and we went through a little bit of setup and settings and a few suggested add-ons. This time we're going to go through actually setting up some things in our dashboard. So the dashboard for Home Assistant is called Lovelace, and it really is a nice dashboard. It's very easy to set up. It uses the material user interface controls and aspects for the most part, but it's got some nice layout and some things that you can do with it. So I wanted to go through setting up some different cards and things like that, because it does do some auto setup and it has some things that you can do with auto setup which are okay, but being able to kind of go in and tweak it yourself is really what makes it a great dashboard in the long run. Now there are other dashboards out there. There are third-party dashboards you can use with this, but you don't have to. In my opinion, you can use Lovelace and get it to be very functional and very useful. Now I say that while my main Home Assistant, the dashboard's kind of a mess. I need to get in and clean it up, but it's a thing about having time to do it and having the importance to do it, because I have a lot of stuff automated where I don't really go in and use the controls very often. But if I ever want to get into the point of using the controls, it'll be important to be able to do that. And I want you guys to know how to do that as well, at least have the basics. Now you can dig in far more on this than what I'm going to show you. And again, from the first video, if you haven't seen it, go back and watch that. And check out all of the links on the different YouTube channels that I told you about for the people that are definite Home Assistant kind of gurus. There's some really great people. They know what they're talking about, they know what they're doing, and it's where I get a lot of my information and how I've learned a lot of what I do as well. So we're going to jump into this right after this. I want to say thank you to all of my subscribers and all of my patrons over at Patreon. Seriously, you guys make this so worth it for me to do these videos every week. I really truly enjoy it, and I just can't say thank you enough. If you're enjoying these videos, subscribe. Let YouTube know that I'm doing a good job by subscribing to the channel. Plus, you'll get notified when I have new videos coming out. And finally, if you're enjoying what I'm doing, give it a like. Just click on that thumbs up, and that way YouTube knows that you like it, and they'll pass it along to other people that might enjoy my content as well. I really appreciate it. Thank you again. Let's get started. I wanted to take just a minute to remind you guys that in a couple of weeks I'm going to have a collaborative video done with my friend over here at IbraCorp. If you haven't checked out his channel, I highly recommend that you do that. I'll put a link in the description today and a description for the next video as well that comes out before we have this collaborative video that we're going to work on. It's going to be really great. I'm excited. He does some really great stuff, and he likes the stuff that I'm doing. And we're basically just going to sit down and trade, tips and tricks and things like that on how to do certain things within the open source realm. And we're going to try to teach each other something and see what we come up with. But I'm excited about it. I hope you guys will be excited about it as well. And I look forward to doing it. And we look forward to seeing all of you guys there whenever we post those videos. All right, so this is kind of where we left our dashboard last time, and it's pretty lonely and pretty sad looking, but it's not hard to add new things. So when you come to your dashboard, whether you're on your mobile device, whether you're on a browser on your desktop, it doesn't really matter. You come up here to the upper right, you click on the little 3 dots, and you can say Edit Dashboard. Now, there's a few things to kind of make note of here. First of all, you see that we've got this overview. This is just what I called it by default. We can do Edit Dashboard, and you see that I get options to add more dashboards. I can add more kind of tabs here across the top, and then I can also add dashboards over here in these spaces as well. So first I can rename this by clicking on the pencil, and again the pencil means edit, the X means delete. But if I just stick with home for now, if I want to add one more and I say, you know what, I want this to be bedroom, and you can call this master if you want to. Doesn't matter, okay? Master bedroom. How about that? The icon doesn't matter. I'm not going to use it anyways, but you can set an icon if you want to. And then this is just the URL for it to go to as far as a web page. You can change it if you want to, if you have some reason to want to do that. I don't have any themes installed. And then again, panel mode means that it only has one card. It's just one thing, so you want to be real careful with panel mode. I'm just going to click Save, and now you see we've got 2 tabs. So we've got 2 different tabs that we can work with here. I'm going to go back to home, and you can see here we've got this one card. So right here is where you click if you want to add cards. I'm going to add this card. It's going to open up, and it's going to have a whole lot of options here, so you can kind of scroll down and see what all the options are. But you can use this area right here to also do a quick filter if that's what you would prefer to do. So right now we've got a button, and it's got this kind of big light bulb on it. If you click on things, it opens them up in this kind of add user interface type space. So the one we clicked on was an alarm panel card, so that's not really something I want to do. But if we go back in, just clicking on one will kind of bring it up for configuration. So here we can kind of see like what's going on with my printer. This is just a little card that it'll put, and you can kind of see the status of your printer. It's nothing spectacular, but then here you've got, again, another little card you can see with your printer. And there's different things you can do with these cards, so kind of understand that. So this is an entity card. We've got a button card, we've got your calendar card, we've got entities, so you can put more than one, and you can see the different entities on a single card, so you can control them with a single card. If you remember my other Home Assistant setup, I've got a whole bunch of switches on one card for my master bedroom individual lights. You have gauges, so basically you can set up a gauge to see different information about charge levels or things like that, so they're pretty cool, pretty useful. Then you've got glance, so you can see things at a glance basically, and then you have a history graph, so this is pretty useful if you're wanting to see like when were things turned on, when were things turned off, how long were they powered on, how long were they powered off, kind of tracking down, are my automations working the way I expect even when I'm not around. Then you have humidifier, which I don't have a humidifier, but then you have the light with the fade capability or change color just depending on what the light functions are. You have a map to see kind of what kind of things are going on and what, set up things as far as geofencing and stuff like that, which we'll get into later. Then you have markdown card, you have kind of a home picture elements card, I guess is the best way to put it. A lot of people use this to kind of draw out their home in 2D and then use that to lay out where things are on their home on the picture card. And it kind of shows you what's going on in your home at a glance, so you can look at it and say, oh, these lights are on, why are they on? Nobody's in there, I'm just going to turn them off. Then of course you have your media card, and as we keep going down you have photos, you have picture glance, you have just so many different things you can do with this stuff. And then of course you have your weather. So if you're wanting to make a dashboard for something you're going to keep on the wall, for instance, you might want to have weather. That's handy information to have. So let's just click on that one, and then we're just going to call this weather.home, and then you can give it a name. So we're just going to call this weather, and you see it replaces it right here where it said home. And then the theme, again, we don't have anything, but secondary information attribute, so you can kind of pick what is this thing. So it's just whatever you kind of want it to be. We're going to leave it with temperature, and you see right here it shows temperature. So I've already got the temperature, so I want to set some other secondary attribute. So you can do wind bearing, wind speed, things like that. So let's just do wind speed. And I can see right here that it's 16 miles an hour, south-southeast, and it's currently 78.1 degrees Fahrenheit. So I'm just going to click on Save. And you see it adds that card for me. Now, you see these little arrows. This means I can move these cards up and down in the list. So if I want this one to be last, I just click the down arrow and it switches them. Now when you load up your user interface on a phone, it's a little bit different. So really using something like your developer tools inside your browser can be very, very useful here. So if I do Control Shift and I, like Ida, you see I get my developer tools to open up. And then right here you have these options for saying here's what I want it to look like. And then you can pick different device sizes. So in this case I have an iPhone X, iPhone XS, whatever you want to call it. And that's kind of what it's going to look like on my phone. So I can see exactly what it's going to look like on my phone. And I can drag this down, or I can move this panel over to the left side window instead of being down here at the bottom. But for the most part I can get an idea of what this is going to look like if it's on my phone. And then to get rid of that you can just click this button again and it goes back to your full screen layout. So you can kind of keep this panel open, or you can just close it. It doesn't matter. You can always reopen it with Control Shift I. But that lets you see what it's going to look like as you're building it out, for one thing. So we're going to go back in. Now, adding weather's cool. That really helps. But let's do a card with some information on it that's actually going to be useful to us. So let's click on this guy. We're going to call this Master Bed Lights. And we don't have a theme, but we're going to say, show header toggle, so this is kind of like your main toggle at the top. It'll be up here above these things so that you can do individual ons and offs, but you can also do other things. Now, as you move down, you'll see, color icons based on state. This means, like, is it going to light up like this when it's on and look kind of dark when it's off? So that can be really useful to see things at a glance, so I like to turn that option on. Now, if you have a light that you can fade If it is not at 100%, this thing is not lit up. So the lights could be on, but they're faded down to 50%, and this is going to be turned off. So just be aware of that. So with header, you can create a header up here, and then footer if you want to. Entities. So this right now has my printer. That doesn't really help me. It's not in the bedroom. So we're going to go over here, and we're going to basically set up some of these other options that we have. So we've got this bulb that's already set, and then let's see what else we want to add here. So this one is the one that's in our bedroom. It's a media player, and we can see we've got volume controls for the media player and then the light switch for the room. So it really quickly kind of creates a nice little card. It's a very easy card to use, and then it puts it right here in the user interface. And again, if I want to see what this is going to look like on my phone, I can do Control-Shift-I and just click. And then I can see, okay, there's my media controls down here at the bottom of the screen, and it kind of has to scroll a little bit for me to see that. So maybe I want to move it up, maybe I want to move it down. It just depends. But then I've got this light bulb that I can turn on and off as well. Now this could be an entire room of lights. It doesn't just have to be a single bulb, but right now it's just that bulb that I've set up in the interface. But then I've got these controls, so that's not bad. Now let's just say, because I'm not seeing all of my entities, I'm like, well, you know, I should have more than this. What's going on? So we're going to go back into our regular mode here, and what we'll do is right here you see this notification area, and it's telling me, hey, we've discovered other devices, you might want to check these out. And it's going to bring you to your integrations section, and you'll see all of these things that it's like, hey, we discovered all these, and if you see it, we discovered all of the light bulbs in my room. So I can say configure this light. It's going to say, do you want to set up this Shelly Duo? You know, yes, I do. So I'm just going to click on submit. And it says battery powered devices that are password protected must be woken up before continuing. So just understand, if you have a battery powered device, it has to be awake in order to configure it. These aren't battery powered, they're plugged into actual power. So I'm going to click on yes, and the area is the master bedroom, just like the other one. And it's got a terrible name here, but I can't change that right here. So we're going to say finish. And then I'm going to do the same thing for a couple more. And you see these down here are kind of coming up in here. So these are the ones that I've set up, and these are the ones that need to be set up. So you can kind of see the difference in what these are doing. So I'm going to do one more, and you'll see that there will be 3 in this card. So we'll say again, yes, I want to do that. And again, I'm going to say it's in the master bedroom. I'm going to click finish. And now you see there's 3 items in the card. But you see these aren't very good descriptions. Now my bedroom ceiling is laid out in a grid, kind of like this, where it kind of goes down and then around the room. So I have a whole bunch of lights that kind of go, they're pot lights that go all the way around the room. So it's easier for me to come in and kind of start with a number 1 somewhere. And you can see it says 1 device, 7 entities. And so remember, a device is the bulb. Entities are the different parts about the bulb that I can look at and determine what's going on. So if I want to see those things, I can. But if I want to rename this thing, I can click right here and I can say, yeah, you know, this isn't great. So I'm going to say master bed 01, so that I know that this is my master bedroom 01 light. I'm just going to assume it's in a certain position, right? But I could actually go in the house and turn it on, turn it off, and then name it for the right number. Click the back arrow. So now I've got master bedroom 1, and then here I'm going to rename this to same thing, but MSTR bed -02. And I'll go back, and you can see slowly I'm very cautiously moving through and just renaming these things so that they make sense for what they are. And it's easy for me to identify, like, hey, you know, this one doesn't seem to work anymore. What is it? Where is it? I can go find it really easily in my house. And it's easy for me to identify in a list as well. So we've got those things renamed, which is great. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to look at my entities real quick on this thing. So you can see it's just got the one thing. The rest of these I can't actually do anything with. So it's nothing massive that I need to worry about right now. But you see it's got this cloud state that it can do. It's got a firmware update. And then it's got power, energy, you know, so on and so forth. So things that Shelly can actually do, but it's not able to be used right here. So that's fine. I just went and looked at it. Just wanted to make sure. Now, if I go back over to my dashboard, I'm still in edit mode. So I want to add another card, and I'm going to do another multi-card. And you see this one has multiple bulbs on it, so that becomes pretty useful. So I don't need the printer still, but I should have I should be able to identify these in a little bit better way. There's a better way to rename these, as a matter of fact, but we'll do that later. So these each have this entity ID. I'm going to name that 66, and I'm going to look and make sure I don't have that one already. I have it right here. So I need to pick the one that isn't that, and that's D1. I think it's this one. There we go. So now we've got 3 different bulbs, and they're all named the way that they should be named. And then I'm going to put this, I can add another entity if I want to. So this is my entities right here. And then I can again name this MSTR bed lights. You can kind of name these any way that you want to, honestly. So I'm just going to hit save, and now I've got this one, and this one's really not lights, this is master bed media. Let's just call it that. So now as we're going through this, you're going to see like, okay, I kind of see where you're going. This is not me setting up a great dashboard right now. This is me just showing you how to add cards and how to do things with different cards. So you can see I can move this to a different view, and I've got this master bed view that I put up here. So I'm just going to click, and I'm going to say I want to move that to the master bed view, and now that card goes away and I don't have a duplicated card anymore. I've got a card on my new view. So now I can kind of switch between these guys, and I've got this nice setup that's pretty easy to kind of keep straight. So I'm just going to click the X. That doesn't delete, that just takes me out of edit mode. So now I've got these 2 views that I can jump between, and I'm starting to get kind of a nice dashboard setup. Now the next thing that I can do is I can go in and I can add my phone through the app. Alright, so I've pulled that in, I've put all of the information into my iPhone here, and it is scanning my device, and it's going to try to hook everything up here. So I'm going to tell it allow, because it wants to know location. So it's going to do that, and then it wants to pull in my health information, and then it wants to send me notifications, so I'm just going to allow that as well. These are all things that you probably want to do if you're connecting your phone to your Home Assistant. Again, it's all self-hosted. On the app, it just walks you through all these steps, and it kind of shows you what it's doing while it's working. So it's basically just kind of running through. It's going to grab some information. It's going to show me on my phone exactly what I showed you when I showed you this layout. Now the nice thing is, it's going to tell me, hey, we found some new stuff. So if I go over here, I'm just going to say new devices discovered. Now login attempt failed. That was me. But we can go and click on check it out. And I should have some new entities from my phone as well. So we'll actually go over and we're going to say devices. And you should see now I have iPhone. So here's my iPhone right here. So that's cool. I can go add some stuff now to my dashboard. So again, once I add my wife, I add my parents, whoever I want that's in the household that I want to kind of keep an eye on their devices and make sure they're keeping things charged or something, we can do that. So we're going to go back to our dashboard, and on the home dashboard, I'm going to add a card. So I'm going to go into edit mode, add a card. Let's add a gauge, and we're going to call this, we're going to find the entity for iPhone battery level. And there you go. So it adds a gauge and it shows what my current battery level is on my phone. And this is going to be Brian's iPhone XR. And if that's too long, if you don't like that for your card, you can of course identify your phone in an easier way, right? Brian XR. So this is easy stuff, right? But that's just as easy. I only have one phone. Units. So again, you can change the units if you want to. Theme is optional. And you can change what this looks like. So if you have a gauge that you're setting, and your gauge can actually go from -250 to +400, change these numbers to whatever you need it to be. And then right here, you can define severity. So currently you see that this is all one color. When I turn this on, now you see that it gets a different color. And that's because you can define what these colors are. So green means that it's above 35%. Yellow means that it's above 20% but below 35%. Red means that it's 5% to 20%, and below that it's going to be in a lot of trouble. So here you can see that now it's changed again. So it's telling me, hey, you're good, and all the way down to 35% it's going to be green. And then this thing's going to change color, and then it's going to change color again. So we've kind of gone in and set that up. We're going to hit save, and now we see that this is here on the device, and you kind of see how this got laid out. So it goes across and then it jumps over. So this is really after this, but it kind of gets laid out across the row and then down. So you need to kind of keep an eye on how your layout's working and understand that it goes across and then down. It is not this way and you can't. So if you try to go up, because the arrow says up, it's actually going to move over here, and that's going to move over here. So I'll show you. There we go. So it moved up, and oh, that moved down. Okay, interesting. But this was after this, and now we've switched them, so we can just hit down again, and it goes back over. So we've started adding things to our Home Assistant. We're starting to put some different information into the Home Assistant, and the cool thing is, like, based on this, I could go set up an automation, and we'll get into that in one of the next videos. So as my phone gets down below a certain percentage, I can say, if the phone goes below a certain percentage, do something with that for me. You know, flash my lights in my room, flash my lights in my house, turn on the TV if that's really what you want to do, right? If the weather gets to a certain extent outside, you can use the temperature, things like that, to start triggering different things to happen. It really gets into extreme capability as to what you can do with this, but setting up a dashboard is kind of step one, and looking at what you have as far as options for your dashboard is really important too. So right here you see we've got this one for lights. Right here we've got this, we've got weather, we've got, you know, a separate one that's just a light bulb. But then we've also set up another screen here, so we can keep an eye on what's going on in the master bedroom. We can turn a light on. That we just want one light over there in the corner to come on when we're watching TV, so it doesn't brighten everything up, but we can see what we're doing if we have to get up and move around. And then we can kind of control what's going on from the volume perspective of our media player as well. So it gets really interesting as to what you can do with these things, and just setting up the Lovelace dashboard is pretty important, and understanding kind of these different cards. I want to do some other cards. I'm talking a lot. So we're going to just keep going down here. And so you've seen the gauge, and here we've got kind of at a glance what's going on. So this is really an informational card. So we'll kind of see what it pulls up for us here. And it's iPhone activity is currently unknown, iPhone floor, so you can kind of keep an eye on your health, things like that. So you could really set up a pretty nice card with your different iPhone stuff. So let's just click here, and we'll kind of scroll down and see, because it has iPhone, and it says device tracker. Don't know if I want to use that one, but we can keep going down. There we go. So we have iPhone average active pace, iPhone battery level, iPhone battery state, iPhone SSID, iPhone connection type, iPhone distance, floors descended, geocoded location. So you have just a ton of stuff that you can get off of your iPhone information as you go through here, and kind of show that here in a multi-state card. Let's add battery state, not charging. Okay. So you can see that the iPhone's not charging, and you can again set a trigger on that, like, hey, my iPhone got below 35%. and it's not charging, send me a notification to let me know, hey, maybe you need to charge this up, right? Below 15%, that's not charging. Yeah, Wi-Fi, there we go. So you can see that it's on Wi-Fi. So about 1.5 meters from what's actually detecting it, which is probably pretty close. So interesting. All right, so we've set that up, and we can say show icon, show state, yes, show name, and then color icons based on state. So we can turn that on, and then it can basically give us some color. We can turn it off and it won't. It just depends on what you're looking at as to whether or not it's going to do that. But you can also set the number of columns. So I could set that to 3. I can make it stack this way. So just by changing the columns, you can kind of change how this thing lays out. Of course, you could add a 4th item and have them all stacked in there. I kind of like the 3 across layout. I think that's pretty good. And then, of course, you can say Brian's iPhone info. We'll save it, and then it gets added, of course, to the rest of the cards. And little by little, we're building out a pretty simple dashboard, but it can do quite a bit of stuff with all of the information that we're getting out of the iPhone. So pretty great. Now, again, we get down into the picture stuff. You get into media control. I kind of like the media control side of things. So if we look at Spectrum, we can pause. We can do things like that. So media player office, and then we have the media player in my room. So I'll do this one for the office. The theme is fine. There's really nothing else to be done here. It just shows what's actually going on, what's being watched. So this is not in the office anymore, but it's actually in the house somewhere. And then I could actually I could pause it for somebody. I could turn it off. They wouldn't appreciate that, but I can add it to my dashboard now. And I can say, here's the thing that's happening in the main room. If we just assume this was the Roku in the main room, then we can see what's being played. We can pause, we can fast forward, we can rewind, we can power it off, and everything else. So we're again just building up a dashboard of really great stuff that we can use on a tablet, on our phone, on a computer. It doesn't matter. And then as you're wanting to kind of think about what is this and where is it and why am I doing it, you might want your home one to be a very general dashboard. Like, hey, here's the weather before I leave the house. Here's the status of my lights in the house as an overall kind of status. My phone is charged and it's good to go. Maybe as you're walking out of the house to make sure you've charged it. Maybe it's a good reminder to pick up your phone as you're walking out of the house too. And then the rest of these could go on other tabs where you have different ways to look at the information. But as you walk in, you see the weather, and you can turn on the lights easily, and so on and so forth. I wanted to open up some channels for discussion, so I've created this Rocket Chat server, and I've got it mixed up with Jitsi Meet. I've created a few channels already to start up some discussions, but of course we can always open up more channels. If you'd like to jump in and send me a direct message or just ask a question in one of the channels, I'll be monitoring the system. It'll be up and running. I'm going to leave this up and going so that we can have a place where we can all come together and answer each other's questions and have good discussions and good conversations. It's discuss.opensourceisawesome.com. Again, that's discuss.opensourceisawesome.com. I'll have the links in the show notes and the description. If you enjoyed this, like, subscribe, tell your friends about it so they can come along on the journey with us, and I'll talk to you next time.